So the biggest thing I see people struggle with from a sales perspective is, if I write correctly with this pen, is people don't actually do this if they don't get like emotion. So if you're using a script beforehand like that's super robotic, there's no emotion kind of being pulled from the calls. Did you find that once you started to actually get emotion into the call from both almost ends, almost from you and from them? Because like for me on sales calls, I will show frustration and I'll show my energy into the call. Did you find that made a big difference?
Yeah, so I was getting so deep into it sometimes that people were literally, oh my God, I just feel like I'm sitting here and you're my therapist. That was really interesting because like I sometimes have really grown a man with 45 or something, and then like, oh my God, I've never been speaking about that, but like now opening up, you're so right. And then for
What would
me,
be an example of that?
oh, like I had a one that was like just overweight. He was in his marriage life. He was an army man before. So he was literally just like a veteran now. He had his kids at home. He had his wife, all of those kind of things. And then what happened was he was just like forgetting about his sport and felt overweight, wasn't able to move anymore. His kids were growing up and he wasn't able to actually spend time with them. And then we were speaking, and I was literally just like discovering his emotions. And at some point, he was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I didn't like myself anymore. I was just trying to get better every single day. That's what everybody told me in the military. Like, they don't care about your emotions. So that was a huge one for me. Seeing him nearly tear up and actually cry in the call was big for me.
Did you sign up?
Oh, yeah, he did. Like everybody that called me a therapist, they immediately sign up.
Okay, so this is, don't take it the wrong way, is that cry is a bias, but the reason for that is because you've pulled like strong emotion from people. And the reason anyone is going to do anything, and particularly if you're going to sell a fitness program, is there is an emotional thing that is driving them to want to get in shape or improve their mobility, not just, oh, it'd be nice to, because if it would be nice to, they probably wouldn't be turning up on a call with you, if that makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. And for me, it was also making a big change because I was starting to actually believe way more in what I'm selling. Because, of course, before you never understood what people actually want to do. And then once you get their emotions, you actually like, oh my God, my system actually works.
Okay, so one thing I would unpack from what you see then is that when you get the emotion out of people on a call, it's then actually giving you the belief because you actually understand what most people think they're doing is they're just selling a training plan, nutrition, or whatever it is. That's kind of like the vehicle, but this is the destination of where you're getting people to, which is like the emotional thing they want, which is ultimately the thing that's going to get them to buy and actually get them to stick to the program.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's this saying you always have to kind of fake it till you make it. And I feel like that is not faking till you make it because, of course, you made the trainer's licenses, you made so many things, but you got into something that, or for me, I'm coming from Austria, nobody was doing that job. It was like, oh my God, you were making money online. Like, what the heck? So for me, that was also building trust in myself. And I think that's a big one.
Would you say that almost this probably increased your self-worth and the importance of what you were doing because you can actually then see like dramatically how this is changing people's lives?
Yeah, because later on, of course, once you have the sad emotions and then you don't just go into what currently is happening with them, but also like what would happen if they don't change it. And then, of course, what would happen if they do change it. And then later on down the months, if you have been working together with them, you finally see them like actually discovering those emotions. And then like, oh my God, hearing this feedback and everything, that's like also kind of getting your belief in yourself and your self-worth up.
What's the best example of one of your clients in terms of results you've started working with since maybe using some of this more emotional stuff?
One of them actually lost 50 kilograms within half a year because he hated himself so much that he just like lost 50 kilograms in 1 year, in half a year.
And how does he feel now? Much happier, I presume? And has he messaged you to say that?
Yeah. So he was, at the same time, he broke up with his girlfriend. And he was from Mexico. He just lost the weight, broke up with his girlfriend at the same time, was like nearly depression close. And then we got him to actually lose the weight. And I always tend to put a little bit of mindset exercises in there too, because I'm coming from a background from like kickboxing. So that just helped him. And he's now standing there doing all of those things. And he literally, like, we're not working together anymore. But he calls me at least every month, just, hey, Veronica, I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for everything. So that was a huge one for me.
That's how you actually getting the emotion and getting the belief and actually selling someone into a program has actually changed someone's life. What would be your advice to anyone listening to this who's maybe afraid of sales or selling to someone?
I feel like sales is an art and just something you can learn. Like, others go to school to understand, I don't know, biology, or they're going to school to learn sports and psychology, and like others want to learn the law, like whatever it is. And I feel like sales is the same thing. So you don't really have to be scared. That is an emotion too. You just have to finally get to enjoy it.
And one of the things I say is if you see the game of sales, that essentially that your job is that you change the person's life regardless of whether they buy or not, then you will win more than you will lose. And that's kind of the framework I go into calls, is like either to give people like kind of self-belief or like kind of say something to them that like no one else has said before. Because a lot of people live in this kind of state of ignorance to maybe like their weight or with the business or whatever the thing is. And if you can say something meaningful to them that no one else has ever said before, that's probably one of the most impactful things you can do.
So what I usually do is whenever they tell me, for example, it's so frustrating, like, then I'm packing it up afterwards and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see you feel pretty annoyed by this. You're trying to get out of this. Like, you feel like you're currently wasting your time. So I'm always trying to really understand them deeper. And then they're like, oh my God, yes, you're so true. Like, you're literally summing it up. And at the same time, I feel so understood.
And I think you also can give two things to finish off sales to talk about. The first thing people actually need to understand is there's only two things you need to do to scale your business. It's just like literally booking calls and then closing calls, because like that is literally what the game is. And one easy hack someone can implement to actually make this easier, or to write names down, is to make sure that you get partners' names, kids' names, because then that creates more emotion in the call. And then also you feel much more trusted. And also it creates active listening to what you're listening to what the other person's saying.
Yeah, that's true. And that's really true. And one thing I just want to go back to, because you mentioned, like, why would people be scared? If you never do it, you can't get good at it. So book those calls, be the Lulu, and just like go into it and make it as a game. Do it so often until it finally works.
And that's where I think the most important thing is people get confidence. And this is also like having managed a lot of sales teams, is you can see when people are confident and they're unconfident. And it's the way they talk, it's the way they communicate, it's the mannerisms, rather than like people who are like, I can feel people's like anxiety through almost like the screen sometimes. I think that's where you just need to let it go and focus on the process rather than the prize that they sign up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the prize is at the very, very end. Before that, you have to have them emotionally. You have to believe in yourself and actually show that you believe in what you're selling. And then you can always drop the price.
Okay, so the second thing you've had in terms of like your business scaling pretty quickly is in terms of bottlenecks of the team. What specifically did that look like?
So I was, I think, 2 years in with, of course, first of all, you have to sell more people to actually be employing a team. But once I started working with you, I scaled up really fast. And of course, then more clients, you need to do more for your clients too. And then at some point, I was like starting to employ my first virtual assistant. I was also outsourcing my YouTube, and especially with the virtual assistant, what I came across was people want to work for you. They show up at, like, they send you CV over, they send you all the things over, they jump on an interview with you. And then at some point you realize 2 days down the road, they should have started working and they are literally doing nothing. So literally realizing that the world is not just green and you actually have to find somebody that is willing to work, because you can't sit there with him. Everything is online. That was like a huge thing that I was struggling with a lot at the start.
The So I've experienced this, and I see this all the time. And I built my first online business, my fitness business, whilst working full time, and I was in a physical location in an office, and I was still doing it. So people are maybe delusional, in fact, if they hire maybe, for example, a VA, and then they're working 10 hours a day non-stop. It's like, dude, they're not working 10 hours a day non-stop. So one of the things I'd recommend everyone uses is Hubstaff. It's like a time tracking kind of software, because that helps kind of a lot in that. What specifically was the VA doing for you, and how have you solved that?
So now I have a VA, and she's literally thinking, or she's pretending it would be her own business. I got her so motivated about the stuff she's doing that I gave her, like, she doesn't have to work 10 hours nonstop. I told her, like, you can go 8 hours, for example, the whole day. She's even, like, she is in Egypt, and she's sometimes working in the middle of the night. I got no clue, because I know she has another job too that she just wants to get rid of and then do even more hours with me. But literally, she's so motivated about what she's doing. I'm giving her bonuses. I'm doing like team trainings with her. I'm literally, and one thing I also noticed that you can't just go in with business. You sometimes have to really be friendly with them too and speak about other things too.
And that's like the big thing with team, is actually building like a culture. So like you have to kind of have a bit of a laugh. So like Mike and Ataza, you would know, I put something on Slack the other day, taking the piss out of Ataza because he was training legs with Mike, and put like a funny emoji of a wheelchair. It's like, try and make things in there to kind of have some humor, kind of like mood, but also like people getting to know each other and creating personal relationships, because then this lady is going to want to work harder for you, and then she's going to be much more bought into like the vision of the business you have. Because ideally what you want to be able to do is you get great people to come in, and then they can stay working with you for a long time.
Yeah, totally agree. Like, if you only just do it for the business, people want to jump off. It doesn't feel familiar. It doesn't feel good. It feels just like a 9 to 5, and you officially don't want to have a 9 to 5, not nowadays.
And how did you find this lady?
She was a follower for a really long time, and like I think already throughout my third VA, after just like a few days of working together, I was nearly at the verge of actually giving up. Even started to ask my aunt if she wants to work with me, but she wasn't really into it. And then I sent out my third story, like, I'm hiring, and this girl actually applied. And that's how I found her. So pretty much just a long-term follower.
And we told you to do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of the biggest hacks that most people don't understand, is the best people who can work for you are fangirls or fanboys, because they bought into you, they will look up to you, they know the brand, they know what you do. So they're already coming in with some education. So you probably know some backstories on you, would know some context. So like you getting people from like your audience is huge. And then I know later on this we'll talk about like scaling your team out more and what you can kind of do from that. But business is all about getting the right people. And one of the things I do see is a lot of people struggling from the VA aspect. One of the things we do now, if anyone needs help with this, just message me on Instagram. We actually have somebody who can help get setters into your account who are fully trained. We've hired, I think, 7 of them ourselves. So that makes a big, big difference, because then this lady's increasing your call booking is probably dramatically, right?
Yeah, so of course I had to learn her kind of from the ground up, because she was doing some online stuff. She was working online before, but not into really DM setting. So I kind of gave her my script. I did weekly trainings calls, like, of course, the things you kind of told me to do. And now my whole schedule is so fully booked that if I wouldn't actively try and pick out one day to just like get my head free, I would have none.
So you packed your whole diet, you've got as many calls as you want, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like sometimes because I have set schedules, and then she's like, oh, this guy is from Australia. Can you do earlier too? Can you do later too? And so my whole schedule is just literally getting packed and filled up. Like, I'm doing too many sales calls probably on one day now.
And there's probably a lot of people who are watching and listening to that, who that's the dream or the problem to have. But this is a good thing we can come on to later in this, in terms of like how you can solve that, because if you have the ability to then do that, you have the ability to have a monster business that does really, really well. But it's just then getting the right people and processes in place to then do that in a smooth way. So it's not, you're building a business that actually works for you and not you work for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is a huge one, because at some point, like, I'm obsessed with what I do. I've been obsessed before with kickboxing when I was a pro kickboxer. And now I kind of got that obsession over into my business. The bad part about it is you get so obsessed, you literally don't take a day off.
And that's why like, the most important thing your team can buy you back is your time. And essentially like your goal should be constantly trying to pull people through back to get you this back. So then the way I look at it, and this is what Dubai is actually great for, that you've now moved here for, is that the way I look at things, I'm either like working or I'm doing things I actually want to do for enjoyment. There's no kind of in the middle. And ultimately you want your business to kind of be the same. It's like you just do the stuff you like, not everything.
Yeah. No, that's why, like, for me, DM setting was like so much. We're doing a huge outreach on Instagram, so it was just getting too much. And I'm so happy I got my VA set. Same thing with YouTube. I'm trying to push out 2 follow along workouts every single week. And at some point, it's just getting too much. So
Do you have an editor for this already?
yes, I do. It was actually so funny story. I was searching so long for a good one, and then one of the other coaches in your mentorship literally has a son, and he's doing my editing now.
Who's it?
I know he's called Jared, the son, but I don't know his dad name anymore.
Okay, that's a good example. Even as an example in terms of like solving problems from in like networks and communities, because a lot of these problems can be solved very easily if you know the right person and you're in the right place to kind of ask those questions.
Exactly. No, that's network is literally a really important thing.
What do you think is the biggest thing from the network you've taken from working with us? Obviously, there's a big community of the best coaches.
So for me personally was literally, of course, getting myself an editor. He's really affordable too. He's doing amazing content. I'm also building him kind of into the team. So he literally gets a little bit more from all of it. Another thing is just like a lot of girls actually approaching me. They have been working with you before. They're seeing me crush now in you. And it's just interesting how they are setting things up, what they are doing different than. And I guess that's just always leveling up. And I'm from Austria, and I don't know, in Austria, it was always more like, you're doing something online we don't like here. And now seeing other coaches actually like, hey, amazing, you can scale higher, let's do this, and actually firing you up, that's a huge one for me.
Yeah, I think that's where you're a product of the environment and the people you surround yourself with.
Exactly. And even if you don't see all of them physically because you're in different countries, because you're in different environments or something, they're still always catching up to you. Hey girl, how you doing? And that's just really funny because basically you don't even know some of those people face to face, and it's just really nice.
Well, I think one of the most important things people need is also people who are on the same kind of mission, the same path as each other, because it then kind of gives you other sounding boards to kind of bounce off. And also you realize that the problems you have, you're not the only person who's got issues with people with their Facebook ad accounts sit down, payment processors, like moving to Dubai, tax stuff, like there's all these things that come up that if you know people who've kind of been through that process, then it's much, much easier.
That's a big one too, because in your mentorship, you literally get one coach, and if you have a questions, I can just like write Hannah, text her all of my problems, and she will come back to me within 1 or 2 days maximum. And that's just such a relief, because sometimes there are things I'm coming across that I'm doing the first time in my life, and just having somebody actually tell you a few steps how you can go across them, that's just really helping.
Yeah, and the first time you do everything, it's scary and it's hard for people. But then, same probably for sales calls for you. Look, once you've done a lot of them, it's easy. It's like you become to that point where you've got unconscious competence, where like you're just competent without even having to think about it.
Exactly. And you also start to realize when you don't want to get a client because that client would just be probably.
Yeah. And like one of the best pieces of advice to say to anyone is that if you ever have that feeling, is like push those people away, because you might well be watching this right now and you can think of someone who like when their net message pops up, oh, I don't want to deal with this person, because you know it's going to be a problem.
Exactly. And even if you explain it 5 or 6 or 7 times, it's still the same question all over again. And you're just like, let me actually put my phone on focus until you're finished. But then at one point, you were actually seeing those clients straight in the sales calls. And that was a new one for me, because I was just like always happy to get people in. And then at some point, you're just like, I don't want to work with you. Like, go and find another coach, please.
Well, because you also know then, but that for your mindset is very positive because it's that abundance mindset of like, yeah, I don't need this client, I can get someone else. Because you also know that that client coming in will cause more problems in terms of maybe being time consuming or just being annoying, that you'd rather just bring someone else in the door.
Exactly. Exactly. And most of the time when you push somebody away, you get a better client back.
100%. Was there anything else? If you enjoyed this clip and you're a business owner, content creator, or coach, and you want help in terms of exactly how to scale your business to the next level using ads, AI, VSLs, setters, and building teams to basically monetize your business and monetize your knowledge, but without you having to press all the buttons, it's never been easier than before. What we can do is we can walk through the whole process in terms of how we're doing this over and over and over again with content creators, with business owners. If you hit the link at the bottom of this video, you can book a call with us and the team. We can audit your whole business, show you where the bottlenecks are, and show you exactly how we can scale. And if we think you're a good fit to work with us, we can show you what that looks like too.